How's it going, guys? And welcome back to Retrospect, your go-to retro gaming podcast. You're listening to episode 44. We'll be talking about the wonderful intersection of the world where card-based video games and card games collide. Joining me in the mics, as always, we have Brandon Big Brains Saltalamacchia. What's up, dude?
Why big brains? Am I just that knowledgeable?
I don't know. Yeah. I'm trying to do like alliterations there. B, Brandon Big Brains Saltalamacchia,
BBB, triple B. I like it. Yeah, I'm doing good, man. The weather's heating up here in the UK. So if you see my head, for those watching, getting like shinier and shinier, it's because it's like 30 degrees here in the UK, which is like obscene. It doesn't happen often. Yeah, it's getting warm now.
I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm getting a little sweaty over here. But before we talk about how sweaty we are, I want to introduce our special guest. And Brandon, I'll let you introduce. We have Jason, a.k.a. the MidLifeGamerGeek, on the podcast.
Jason's been writing with us for, it must be over a year now, right? You've been on and off.
A few years. I think it's coming up to, it's 2 and a bit years at least.
Jesus. That's awesome.
Yeah, you've been doing wonders on the site, and with our upcoming topic of today, we're kind of moving Jason from Retro Dodo to our sister site, which is Card Gamer. But I'll kind of let you introduce yourself, Jason, what you've been up to in the gaming industry in the past, because you've got some cool stories.
Yeah, I guess I do. So I obviously being middle-aged as I am, I do have some cool stories, many of which are probably unrepeatable on a podcast. But yeah, I first worked in the video games industry back in the mid-90s. Told you I was old. And moved into doing a bit of writing, but only sort of very briefly and very small amounts in the early sort of 2000s, really. And I've only recently got back into it. Just, I guess I sort of lost a bit of confidence, but have, massively moved back into it. I started blogging sort of 3 or 4 years ago, and then moved, I think my sort of regular writing started there because it's something that I've done daily since then. Now up to about
how many posts have you done now?
Articles.
That's it, 1,500. I remember it was something silly. I don't even know. We might have just hit that on Dodo, So that goes to show how much Jason's been writing over the past few years, and you've done a lot of articles for us as well. I'll give you the numbers.
I think I've hit about 150 for you guys on Dodo. I've already done 30, I think, for Card Gamer, which I'm sure we're going to talk about as well.
So we've done 1,500 on Dodo. So you've written the same amount that we've written over the past 3 to 4 years. Damn.
Oh, wow.
And do you have fingers left? Are they just like nubs now?
I do have small hands, actually.
Maybe that's why. Jason's working double time. I mean, even for this outline right now, I don't know if Brandon was looking at this and he was surprised, but Jason basically like expanded on everything that we wrote in this outline and made it way better. So it's like, you could just copy and paste this and use this as an article if you wanted to.
I could.
That's what I do.
But also, so Jason, you're a freelance writer, obviously for Retro Dodo, but you have bylines at Polygon, Nintendo Life, and other places, which is really cool. So I love how you're trying to be humble. You're like, I lost some confidence. I don't think that I'm that good of a writer. And you have like bylines at all these places, and you've written all this stuff. You own and operate MidLifeGamerGeek.com, and I guess that was your start back. You were like, you know what, I'm going to write for fun and just kind of do this. And what was like the main like driving force behind starting that?
I think probably where the name alludes to as well, it was kind of hitting that middle-aged point where I thought, if I'm not going to get back into writing now, I'm never going to. So I just thought, you know what, why not start a blog? Why not just write and see where it takes me? And I figured that if I wrote every day, that, I would get not just that confidence back, but a bit of my skill back as well. So, just hearing general feedback on my writing when I was sharing it on, say, Twitter or Instagram or wherever, was a huge help and allowed me to sort of reach out to people like Brandon and, sort of do work with them as well. So, it's that was the sort of driving force really was trying to get that confidence back, getting back to doing something I really love, which is writing and always have. Just being able to do it on a daily basis is massively rewarding for me. So it's a big sort of creative outlet, and I do it every single day without fail, whether that's for myself or for Brandon or for anyone else. So, yeah.
Heck yeah. I love that. And that really is true. Like, to be better at writing, you have to write, which is frustrating because you're like, it's like, I don't know where to start. And it's like, well, you just kind of have to just start writing again. And once you start getting in that rhythm, your writing improves continually, gradually over time. And it's like a muscle. Like, once you stop using it, it weakens, it atrophies. And then you're just like, well, my writing is not as good as I thought it was once at one time, and yeah, that's awesome, man. I love that.
Cool.
And then the last two things leading into the topic of the show, sort of, you are a card game aficionado, or at least I've sort of proclaimed you as one.
You have.
And that's really fitting because we're talking about that today. And specifically right now, or at least, I don't know right now, but you claim to be a Monster Train aficionado. Is this true?
It's true in the sense that I play it a lot. Yes. Would I call myself an aficionado? I don't know, because I'm not very good at it. I mean, I've probably completed a run. So it's like a roguelike deck building game where you choose a couple of factions. You're on a train that's staffed with denizens of hell trying to keep the pyre alive. And on each run, you can gain new cards. And try and basically keep the fire alive until the end of your run. I've only actually managed to succeed a few times, but it doesn't stop me trying. So I've certainly played it a lot. I feel like I know what I'm doing, and then near the end, inevitably falls apart. But I'm getting there.
Yeah, those roguelike deck builders are tough. We'll talk about those near the end in terms of ones that we recommend. But I have another one that I like called Slay the Spire that we'll talk about later. Very similar, but I haven't played a lot of Monster Train, so I'm looking forward to trying that one out pretty soon.
Yeah, it's cool.
All right. Well, quick housekeeping for you guys. Be sure to write into the show at Retrospect at retrododo.com, just like SWPL Gaming did. And he said on our recent episode, we were talking about underrated retro games. He said, again, with another awesome pod, great to listen to whilst I work. I'm 42 and done my knee in picking up my boy. Gets worse as you get older. I remember those PCs that had a Gateway 2000. 3 Dirty Dwarves was big for me on the Saturn. Thanks again for another fun one, guys. So
what a nice comment. So I know this guy's name's Joel, and he actually came to our handheld history kind of book event that we put on in London. So
cool.
He traveled all the way down to London to meet me in person, which was mad. So Joel is one of our goats in terms of fans. He's always watching stuff, and he's a big retro handheld fan too. So big up, Joel. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much. And hopefully your knees recover from picking up your boy. I'm getting there. And also, I looked up 3 Dirty Dwarves in terms of just a gameplay. When he talked about it, I was like, that game looks from an art style looks really interesting. I would recommend you guys check it out later. And also check out cardgamer.com to subscribe to the newsletter that is currently listed on that homepage. Things are about to start happening over there, and I'm very excited about it. So,
yeah.
Let's freaking jump into the topic of the show: card-based video games. So, I wanted to briefly talk about the history of card-based video games. And Jason, once again, thank you so much for all of your help on getting me corrected on this. It's hard to find the actual the correct search term to find the oldest video-based card game. I was like, surely there's something older than this. So originally, I think I had a Dragon Ball game in 1988. And Jason was like, hey, I think I found some that were a little bit older. And so the first card-based game was Blackjack on Atari in 1977, which is pretty awesome. That is a while back. That is a while back.
The year I was born, actually. So there we are.
Yeah.
Coincidentally.
No big deal. So you could give us almost a historical account of what this game is like. And then you're like, actually, yes, I can. Yeah. So have you played this game?
A long time ago. Yeah, I did. So I had an Atari probably in the sort of... it's very strange. The Atari 2600 lasted a very, very long time. I'm talking about you could go into a Toys R Us store in the UK in sort of 1989, 1990. They had the sort of tickets and things where you would pick those out and then go and collect your games afterwards.
Yep.
They still had an entire wall of Atari 2600 games back in, say, 1990. So it was
nice.
It lasted for an incredibly long time. I do remember playing games like blackjack and so on that very long time ago.
Love that. I miss those days. The tickets. I think there's still some voucher systems like that, but it's not the same.
No,
not the same.
Like we have them at like the fishmonger or like the butcher ticket. That's about it now.
Fishmonger is such a cool name. The fishmonger. Yeah. It sounds like he's up to no good. If you're a fishmonger, I don't want to trust that kind of guy. And then Casino followed a year later on the Atari, featuring blackjack, solitaire, poker, 5-card stud poker, like all those things. And then this is the one that I remember. So solitaire, I'm sure it released before this, but the big release happened in 1990 on Windows 3.0. So everyone had a Windows computer at this point, and solitaire kind of exploded. And it still is, I think, one of the most played card games because people just they get it. They love solitaire, and it's been around for forever. So if you haven't played solitaire, you should play it at least once or twice just to get the idea of what it is. It's real easy, and it's way more fun as a digital game than it is a card game or like a physical game, because you have to organize the cards every single time you lose, and you lose a lot in that game. So, and then since these like traditional card games have come out, we've received full adaptations of physical card games like Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering, and a whole bunch more. And we have other like full card games inside of video games. So like in The Witcher, you have Gwent, and that became like its own standalone game on mobile as well. You have like Pazak and from KOTOR, and a whole bunch of other games. Like, you can play poker games in Red Dead Redemption. You can go to the casinos and play card games in GTA. So like card games are, I would say, almost synonymous with video games in some ways, because they really kind of originated before video games, and they kind of gave you this sense of competing against other people based on stats and numbers, and it's all evolved since then. So I think the history of that's just kind of interesting. But I do want to kind of jump into what makes to you guys, what do you think makes card-based video games appealing? So Jason, I'll let you go first on this one, since you're our aficionado.
Indeed. So I find an awful lot of the time, I either don't have the time, the patience, or the energy to sort of sink myself into, a sort of big AAA blockbuster. And a lot of the time I find myself playing indie games or retro games. And I find that card-based games offer a great way of sort of winding down, but also, sort of exercising the brain, I guess, when you're playing a video game. So it's, they can offer a great deal of sort of strategic depth, and there's an awful lot of appeal in that, I think, especially when something's being done digitally, because you can recreate things from normal card games or sort of add your own flair. An awful lot can be added to the experience that you just don't get when you're playing on a tabletop. That's not to say that there's obviously benefits to playing across from a real opponent, but things like sort of bookkeeping and special effects and combos and things like that can be really dialed up to 11 when you're playing sort of digitally as opposed to on the tabletop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think there's something about a card-based game for me that it exercises that random muscle in my brain where I can feel like a genius sometimes. And when it clicks, you're like, yes, I've done it. I've found this combination that works. And that's obviously in more of these deck builder, battling games. Yeah. But I think across the board, I had a friend who played solitaire every night before he went to bed. And he wouldn't play, and he wouldn't stop until he won. And so sometimes he'd be up, just playing solitaire on his phone, until he won. And I'm like, Spencer, that is so bad for you. You just got to go to bed, dude.
Yeah.
He's like, I love it, man. I love it. So I don't know. I like that part about them, where I do feel like I'm working some part of my brain that maybe isn't active in other areas when I'm playing a standard game, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Brandon, how about you?
I'm the same, and usually with card games and video-based card games, you're always playing against either yourself or a bot, and it's only you that's standing in the way of beating that level. And with me, between retro games, I usually play retro games most of the time, but I'll go to full-blown AAA first-person online shooters, and all I have to do is be better than the guy that I'm coming up against. Whereas, typical card games, it's you and the bot, and you're the only one that's going to be defeated or go to success. And I kind of like that approach, kind of bettering yourself every game you play.
Yeah, you don't have to compete against somebody who's maxed out like the most optimal build sometimes, like that's the hard part with Hearthstone and other like deck battlers is you go online, you try to play against somebody that has put a lot of time and money and hours into Hearthstone, and you're like, dude, I don't even know what card that is. You just absolutely destroyed me. I'm having a terrible time, So your enjoyment can really vary based on how it's set up. And I like the idea of playing against yourself almost. Like I'm just learning this game. I'm playing against myself and trying to beat it, or the systems that have been put in place to kind of slow me down, sort of.
Yeah.
And Jason, you mentioned this a little bit. I like the idea of like adding the visual effects. I don't know, like what if you have any examples of that you're thinking of, but I think it does elevate a game a lot when if it's just a normal card game you're playing, like Pokemon, for example. If you're playing that versus you're playing the digital version, you get a little more flair. You get a little more exciting animations or things happening on screen.
Yeah, absolutely. So like a good example for me is Magic the Gathering, Duel of the Planeswalkers. And when the first edition of that came out for the Xbox Live Arcade, I remember just being blown away by the way that they did the sort of combat chain and combos. And I even, obviously this is in the days before iPhones and Android phones, I had to film my TV to do it. But I remember setting up this insane combo that lasted for about a minute and just watching it. And the frame rate dipped to like 1 or 2 frames a second because it was so insane. And it caused, you start with 20 life in Magic, and the idea is to get your opponent down to 0. And I think I did something like 200 or something damage with this one attack. And it was just incredible seeing it all kick off and all the different sort of effects and the cards triggering. And that kind of thing. It was just an instant sort of dopamine rush. Just, incredible to sit and watch. And to know
as well. Sounds like a core memory.
You've got yourself into that spot where you've been able to trigger that combo through whatever combination of luck of the draw or your deck building ability, and just being able to set yourself up for that and let it rip. It's just very, very cool.
All at 1 to 2 frames per second.
Exactly.
A beautiful visual.
Yes.
I would be remiss if I didn't mention really briefly. Have you guys ever heard of Eye of Judgment?
Is that the Sony iToy one?
It is.
Yes, I have heard it. I've never played it, but I have seen it.
So, Brandon, just for a quick visual and for the audience, it was literally a camera that you could buy separately for the PS2.
I remember the iToy,
Yeah, and you would put it like top down, like sky cam, essentially looking at your desk, and you would put actual physical cards onto your desk and play a game that way. So like it was kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh, where you'd put the cards down, and then like on the screen it would show like animations and actual things happening based on the cards that you would put down. It's a really cool idea. It's a really cool idea.
Were they like one of the first to do that? Obviously you had like card games, but using like augmented reality in a way to make that possible. Wow.
Yes. I think this was one of the first attempts essentially at the whole card-based, AR situation. And it was, I don't think it was received super well. People were like, yeah, it's kind of jank, or, it's not that fun, but the idea, really cool.
Yeah.
Really, really cool.
Man, we could do a whole podcast episode on the iToy thing. That thing was game changing, dude.
Very cool.
Game changing. I don't know. I don't know how much really the game was changed from the iToy, but we could definitely dive into what they tried to do with it.
Yeah. I think my mum bought it for me because I was like slightly overweight in that time. She's like, let's get the iToy and you can move around and press buttons and just get a sweat on. Didn't work out.
Then the Wii came out and she's like, yes, perfect. This is what Brandon needs. That's awesome. So card games, we all like them. But I also want to talk to the audience on the other side. So why might someone not like card-based games? There's certainly an appeal to them. I think that they require a lot of you from the front to be able to like learn. And sometimes if like that doesn't click with you, then you're out. I think the barrier to entry for a card game is relatively high. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Brandon or Jason. Jason, I'll let you go first.
Yeah,
on
I
this one.
do. So strangely enough, Monster Train is a game that took an awful long time for me to click, and I sort of walked away from it thinking I just didn't get it at first. But you're right. An awful lot of card-based games, whether they be roguelites or adaptations of tabletop games, the learning curve can be pretty steep. There's an awful lot of symbols to learn, or reactions, the turns structure, and things like that. So there's an awful lot to take on board when you're first learning to play, and that can be a bit of a barrier to entry. And there's numerous times I think where I've sat down to play one thinking, oh, this is going to be great. Obviously I love card-based games, and just it hasn't clicked for whatever reason. Just hasn't clicked for me. And sometimes I can walk away from it, come back and settle in. There's a game I reviewed recently called Pirates Outlaws, which I again just didn't click for me at all at first, but I managed to go back to it and get into the. I guess there's a certain rhythm that you expect with card games, right? And once you get that and you understand the different concepts, you can really sink your teeth into it. And with Pirates Outlaws, it had a really unique mechanism where you had to use ammo cards in your hand to reload in order to get your actions. And it was that part of the process that was so unusual and so different to anything I'd played before that took a little while to sink in. And it was, and once it did, I found it to be an incredibly clever mechanic and something you can sort of, this is the thing with card-based games, is the sort of luck mitigation or luck management aspect of it. And there's another thing sort of going back to why they can be appealing is because you ultimately, as Brandon was saying, your decisions and everything, you're sort of almost playing against yourself and the way that you've set yourself up in the game. And it's being able to deal with that limited number of semi-random choices and deal with them effectively to help yourself succeed that provides that appeal. But if you can't get that and you can't see how to make things work, or that you can't see how to trigger those different combos, it can be a real barrier to actually progressing or to even enjoying any of these games.
I couldn't agree more. I went to the UK Games Expo a couple of weekends ago, and there's so many card games there, and you're seeing all these people like trying to learn it, trying to get to grips with it. And I think a lot of the card game industry that are launching new card games within the next 5 years are going to really struggle, and are probably struggling with the barrier to entry in terms of learning efficiently and quickly. And I think with most traditional like card gamers, they buy a pack online, let's say Amazon, they want to go play with a friend. Their friend knows how to play and they want to get involved, and they're playing against a friend that already knows how to play and are constantly kind of losing. Even though there's like a let's be friends and kind of learn mentality, you don't want to keep playing against someone who's going to kick your ass and is so much better than you all the time. So there's like that on top of like having to learn all this stuff. It's just difficult with card games, where video games, they can take you through it slowly. There's no real competition, but when it's, face to face, it can get a little bit tricky.
And, Jason, I'm stealing one of your points that you put down in the outline, but this is so true for me as well. The in-person nature of traditional card games or board games, I think there is something that's kind of lost. Like, this is true for any online game though, so it's not specific to just card-based games. But if you do play one of these adaptations and you like the element of being in person with somebody, and just that interaction of just kind of the social element of kind of messing with somebody, trash talking more, and just doing what you want, like you can do that obviously over Discord or whatever you want online, but there's something about the physical element of holding a card and building that deck yourself and working up to that and beating somebody else in person and kind of having that experience. It's just way different than the digital version. Like it loses some of the weight, even if you have the exact same cards, the exact same deck, there's just something about playing in person that is lost. And now obviously there's things that are gained. Again, there's way less cleanup. You have animations, and it's a lot more affordable, I would say, in the long run, if you can just kind of build up your deck over time, if you're patient enough. But I do think that in-person element is something that is greatly lost.
You can see the rage on their face as they cry into their hand. That's the magic. No.
I spent months on this deck, and it just got obliterated. Oh, what a sad time! What a sad time.
God.
So, I did want to give some people some direction in some games that they might want to check out. So I asked us to put together a list of some of our favorites that we could recommend to some people, and just talk briefly about why they're great. So Jason, I'll let you go first on just a few that you might recommend.
Yeah, so the few that I chose for this, Monster Train, which we've already spoken about. And so, yes, like I said, I'm not very good at it, but I do persevere. I've only had a few successful runs, but keep going. There's something about the mixture of that you can take two different factions into battle, and the way that the sort of leaders and the different styles of the factions interact. There's something there about sort of repeatedly experimenting and trying to better yourself that I find very, very appealing. But it's also got this amazing visual and sound design as well, and I think that's a big part of it. There's stuff that happens in Monster Train that I don't think would necessarily be. It would either be impossible or it'd be very, very difficult to pull off on the tabletop. So I think
I like that.
That kind of thing is why it's such a great video game, card game. It's just one of those things that takes advantage of the sort of digital medium, really, but still presents an almost sort of traditional deck building experience.
Nice.
Yeah. So there's that.
Brandon, do you have one? Do you have any ones you want to throw in there, Brandon?
So I'm going to be a little bit different here. I'm going to showcase a couple of new card games that I think some of the listeners might be interested in, because they're kind of cool. The first one, which we're kind of good friends with now, seeing as Jason's been on the phone with them, is one called Achroma. These guys are really cool. I think they call this like... There we go. They call it an evolving card game, and I'm still learning, so I'm not going to give you all the rules and stuff, but they're kind of like a independent kind of publication, a new card game, but some of the art is incredible. You can't really see that, but they've got like it's not hollow, you probably can't see it because my lights are
It's like a sort of raised ink treatment, right? And it sort of fits with the theme of the colour and ink that's a theme in the game.
Look at that. They designed that after me. Yeah,
is it just... so? Is Achroma a physical-based card game straight up?
It is. There's also an app which can help you learn to play. There's also sort of narrative adventures to play through on there as well. There's a huge sort of lore behind everything. It's very, very cool. It's not a traditional sort of CCG in that you don't buy booster packs. You buy semi-random decks, as the one that Brandon showed you there. You get 2 decks in there. There's various factions in the game. You get a random 2 factions of decks. So it's playable out of the box. It's a very good game.
I feel like I'm on QVC right now, Jason, with you like describing it and me showing off like, look what you could get.
Do you see? I like the box. It kind of reminds me of like a VHS box on the outside, the one that it came in, like the sleeve.
And very like cool. They're so new, like their paper's just got little stickers on. Like I love it. I love seeing like new companies and new games coming out. And I think it's just one to kind of keep an eye on. It's called Achroma. They look really, really cool. And the card illustration is stunning. Nice.
I'll go next. A card-based video game that I would recommend would be Inscription. INSCRYPTION. Hence the crypt, the crypt element there. And I love this game. I was kind of a skeptic at first. I heard a lot of people like loving it, and I was like, I definitely will check this out when it comes over. And I think it made its way to PS5 and Switch last year, or the year before, and I just fell in love. It does such a good job of slowly introducing the card-based mechanics to you, and then it also pairs that with, I think, one of the most interesting storylines that I've experienced in a game in a long time. Wow. It really just pulls the rug out from underneath you, and like it opens this whole storyline up, and I think it's just so interesting, so well done. It's something that you have to just experience for yourself. Like I can't tell you the storyline, but I think you should just play it with just open eyes and an open heart, and just see what it does. And it's It's not that scary. If you're not a fan of scary games, I am not. This is one that I was not a fan of at first because it looked kind of scary, and then it ended up being like not as scary as I thought it was going to be. So, would recommend. Jason, you got another recommendation for us?
I do indeed. Metal Gear Acid, which was, I think it was a PSP launch title back in the mid 2000s, and it wasn't particularly well received as far as I remember. I don't think it sold very well. It's another one of those sort of card-based games that had such a stupidly high learning curve. It's so steep and never sort of explained itself properly. So you were left to fend for yourself and work it out for yourself, which is a disaster for a game of this nature. You really need to have your hand held for at least a few rounds and get your head around different concepts, because essentially you're presented with a room or multiple rooms that look like you're basically playing Metal Gear Solid. So, you're Solid Snake, you're going on different missions, but you can only do it through turn-based card mechanics, and you build your deck as you go with different pieces of equipment. There's an awful lot of mechanics revolving around you getting to take your turn before the bad guys do. So there's ways to mitigate the passage of time and to reduce the time it takes to do certain actions so that you get to go next to stop them from getting you. And that's the part that is never properly explained. So it can be extremely challenging, but once you get your head around that and it clicks, it's such a good game. And I actually completed the whole game, which is unusual for me. But I remember completing Metal Gear Acid and being very, very proud of myself. So yeah, that's definitely one I'd recommend.
And where can people even play that today? Like, how can they find Metal Gear Acid?
Brandon would know better than me, I think.
If it's a PSP title.
Emulation, baby.
Yeah.
That's his go-to saying. Emulation, baby. All right, Brandon, do you have any other things you want to show off on the QVC?
Yeah, got an. So today we have Flesh and Blood, New Zealand based. We were on a phone call with them, I think last week, Jason, weren't we?
Yeah,
really cool. They kind of want to bring the magic of card games back in the Flesh and Blood. So they kind of supply these not really online. They only put them in like card game stores and independent stores and stuff. But the mechanic I like about this is that you have like a hero. And instead of usually having like decks of bad guys and good guys, you're actually like kind of kitting them out with armor and spells. So this one's holographic. Ooh. And you get like items and stuff. You can kind of like upgrade your weapons, or you can do dual swords or a two-handed sword. You know, feels kind of like Diablo-like in a way, actually. But they're new. They're not new. How old are they, Jason? Like 5
2019,
years?
I think the first set was released. The 10th one is due this month. So they're doing very well. There's no because, as Brandon said, they want to bring it back. Flesh and Blood sort of alludes not just to the sort of game and the mechanics of the game itself, but also the fact that they are bringing it back to a sort of physical state. There is no digital app for Flesh and Blood. It's all to be played physically. And yeah, like Brandon said, it zeroes in on sort of a battle between two heroes. So it's not two wizards as in Magic, two planeswalkers throwing massive creatures at each other or anything like that. It's literally a fight to the death between two characters, and you sort of chain combos of attacks together. And
that sounds really cool, actually.
Yeah, so it's almost has the feel of sort of a one-on-one fighting game, I guess, in video game terms.
But all your attacks are based on the cards you have in your hand.
Yeah,
so it's
absolutely.
Like, I don't have my.
You build your character with equipment, armor, and so on at the beginning, and then your deck is your attacks. Yeah, it's great.
I like that a lot. I like that description a lot. That sounds really interesting. It's not the same as this is a very light comparative game, but like Bang. I don't know if you guys ever played that before. Yeah. Bang, you're building your character up a little bit, and you're putting guns on them and different enhancements, and then you're trying to take other people out with it. So you're taking everyone out, but not just one other person.
Yeah,
so
cool. Have you ever played Munchkin?
Cool. Yes, I have. Yeah,
so
similar,
in a similar sense to that, but obviously a lot more in depth.
Yes, a lot more in depth. Yeah, I like to balance on that line between like just enough depth where I feel like I'm learning something and there is some strategy, but not so much that I'm like, whoa, hold on. I don't know if I can go this deep. I don't know if I can go this deep in here. Awesome. All right. Well, my last one that I'll mention is Slay the Spire. And I feel like I gave a bad description of Inscription really quickly. So the way that game works, it's really interesting. Is you also like you'll have different people you can play as, but the main one you're going to use is like this sacrificial monster idea where you have animals that you bring in, you sacrifice them to bring in stronger animals, and there's other like kind of gross mechanics where you can like pull your teeth out to help tip the scales in one way or the other. You can also like pull your eye out. Like there's some pretty gnarly things that happen. Like I think you can cut off your fingers. Like there's some gross things that can happen to help you in the game, and it all leads to like a story, like a part of the story that actually happens. But yeah, it sounds kind of gross when I explain it that way. But you do all these things to sort of tip the scales. There's like a literal scale that adds weight on either side. Those little gold tokens or nuggets that will basically, once you get 10 on one side, you win, and then you progress the round and go to the next one.
Right.
But Slay the Spire is another roguelike deck builder game where each level you move through is a different encounter every single time, and when you lose, you keep that experience that you had, but then you start back at the beginning and you go back through it again. So it's one of those games where you're meant to lose a lot, and then eventually you'll get a deck, you'll get some kind of build that's just way OP, and you just completely decimate the 3 different tiers of the Spire. So there's at the end of each, level, there's 3 levels. You fight a main boss, and you beat that, you go to the next one. You beat that, you go to the next one, then you fight the final one at the very end. And I've only beaten Slay the Spire like a few times. I had the most luck with the poison build. So you have 3 options. You have like a flame strength warrior, you have a poison build person, and you have this like robot that can like balance energy. And
didn't you
do a whole
use
bunch
poison
of
on Wild Frost as well? I feel like you're a bit of a poison player.
The long game. game.
Yeah.
Well, they tend like, I think that one just makes the most sense in my brain, because like I think just from a combination standpoint, I know how poison works. It's always the same kind of. It's like, yeah, you poison them, they lose health over time, and all you have to do is just build your defenses up to be able to take their hits, and then they just die eventually. So
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it ends up working the best for me.
Sounds smart.
Maybe I just understand that the best. But yeah, Slay the Spire is great, and it's available everywhere. It's really cheap, so I would definitely recommend checking that one out, along with Monster Train, because I feel like those two are kind of compared a lot, and people like both of those equally. So yeah. Well, nice. I'm gonna go ahead and jump us over to the last quick section. I wanted to actually quickly ask you guys what you've been playing. So
what are you playing?
What are you playing? So Jason, what have you been playing lately?
Well, in complete contrast to what we've been talking about, and in contrast with me telling you how I don't have time for AAA games, I have just finished Jedi Survivor, which nice. I thought was amazing. Very, very cool. It took me a long while to warm to the first one, but the second one I thought was an awful lot better, and the narrative was just as strong. The narrative really carried me through the first one, when I thought the gameplay itself wasn't so great. But yeah, the second one I thought was fantastic. But just finished that, and so I've moved on to Spider-Man Miles Morales after completing the first game fairly recently as well. So yeah,
nice. You're just crushing through it right now, man. Yes. Brandon, how about you, man? Somehow.
I pulled the trigger on Diablo 4, spent £69 on it. The day I think that it was the hottest day in the UK of the year, because that's what I do. I stay in like a hermit. And I'm not too far in. I've probably put like 5 or 6 hours into it, but it's just a nice bit of dopamine when I want it. Relieve some stress, hacking and slashing, getting cool gear, upgrading my guy. Lilith is an absolute awesome bad guy. She's pretty scary. So just something different from retro games and something different from the card games now, just to jump on for 30 to 45 minutes, hack and slash, get some cool gear, do a cave or whatever you call them, and then log off.
A dungeon. So I'm playing the same. I'm playing Diablo also.
What character? What kind of class did you go?
Yeah, I went with the sorcerer. How about you?
Oh, berserker, is it? Big guy, big muscles.
Yeah, the
that guy.
Or I think it's berserker. Maybe it's berserker, or is it warrior. I don't remember the names. I don't remember the name classes. I just remember sorcerer. That's the one that I picked. Necromancer, rogue. Oh gosh, it's not berserker. What is it? 4 classes in Diablo. I gotta look this up real quick. Barbarian. There you go.
Barbarian. That sounds terrible with my accent. Barbarian.
The barbarian. But I'm having a fun time. Yeah, it's nothing fancy. It is a full on you just run around and you kill lots of monsters. You go back and you loot and you do it all again, over and over and over and over again until you beat the game. But I'm having fun. My brothers and I are playing it, and it's.
For some reason, I can imagine you do it on increased difficulty. You on increased difficulty?
I did do it on the harder one, or World Tier 2. I just upped my difficulty just to get more experience and stuff like that. But yeah, it makes the enemies harder to kill. And that game's hard by yourself. I will say that. Like if you're playing by yourself, it's tough. But if you have people, it's not as bad. So that's the pro tip for Diablo.
Friends. Something I can't get.
Hey man, I'll play anytime you want to play. All right. Well, that is going to close us out on our podcast today, talking about card games. I think all in all, anyone that likes video games should give a card game a try. It's just something that I feel like is very in line with anything else video game based, and also physical. So if you are interested in learning more about physical based games, obviously there's cardgamer.com. It's going to be covering a lot of that stuff, but there's all kinds of cool stuff out there. And Jason, you seem to have a pretty good knowledge of all that stuff. So you guys should definitely follow Jason on Twitter to see what he's talking about, because he's posting all kinds of stuff out there. But let us know. Write into us at retrospect@retrododo.com what your favorite card-based video games are. If you have any favorites, we'd love to hear them. And you can also just comment on any of the YouTube channels or Spotify, wherever we're at. We'd love to hear from you. But yes, Jason, thank you so much for jumping on the podcast. Where can the good folks find you on the internet?
I'm on Twitter as GeekMid, so GWKMID, and same on Instagram, and of course, MidLifeGamerGeek.com.
Fantastic. Brandon, how about you?
Head over to cardgamer.com. I think we are. So when this goes live is tomorrow, isn't it? So we should be launching the week after, or definitely before the end of June. So keep your eyes peeled for another new publication, baby. Oh, man.
Exciting times. And for me, it's BitBloggist, BITBLOGGIST everywhere. Until then, y'all, we'll catch you in the next episode. For whatever reason, Brandon's mic freaks out and cuts off after a minute. So
it always does it when we don't wait a minute, and when we wait a minute, it knows.
It's all right, they're watching me. I'm gonna behave. Yeah, we're gonna get you a new mic. I'm just gonna buy you a new setup and just send it to you. All right.
I need to buy one. I'm too busy buying shitty handhelds. I got the Nugget into it. I don't want to open it.
You got the Nugget?
Nugget, man. Sent in from a friend in China, and then we got these little things coming out now, like the RG Nano. This is. I think you'll like this one, dude. They're really nice.
I mean, I love the size of it, but I also hate the size. How? Yeah. This is how you have to play that thing. That's gnarly, dude.
Call it the claw.
Oh, that's awful. I mean, the only way to play that, maybe Tetris, play some Tetris on there. That's about it. Oh,
kind of feels like a Matchbox. I like a good fidget toy, and I've been doing that a lot recently.
I can just feel my arthritis just crying at me, oh, my hands.
Oh, God.